So good morning and welcome to Wake Up American Ministries, February the 12th. And so as we wait just here for a minute or two, or not even really a minute or two, but several seconds. Anyway, so today's the 12th. Just a reminder to you ladies and to you gentlemen that you know what February the 14th is. So some of you who have procrastinated and waited to the last minute, all I can say is this. Don't forget, because everybody can't be as blessed as I can be, where my spouse says, don't give me no candy, don't give me no flowers. The flowers are going to die, and I don't need to eat the candy. So, anyway, she's very graceful. She said, just feed me. So, we'll do something special in that way, and we don't have to throw dead flowers and put candy in the freezer that's going to sit there till next year this time, because we'll forget about it. And anyway, but for those of you who maybe your wives are not quite as gracious, or your girlfriends, or your fiancés, don't forget. And don't think that you can wait till the day after Valentine's Day to go get something half price, because chances are by 3 o'clock on Valentine's Day, they're going to be putting the Easter stuff out at Walmart if they're not already. But anyway, enough of the commercials. We're going to get going here. So today we're going to be talking about a very, very unique book of the Bible, and it gives us a picture of relationships and how the love between a man and a woman, how it should be. And it's more than just feelings, and we're going to talk about that. It's the Song of Solomon. And say, well, I never really hear the Song of Solomon preached on very much. So anyway, so today we're going to take a stab at that. And there's kind of two thoughts on this. Most people tend to believe that this is between Solomon and the Shulamite woman. But there's another version here that says there's the Shulamite woman, Solomon, and then the shepherd. And for lack of a better term, I guess he's a young man, and she's a young woman. So it's really between the three of them, depending on how you break it down, and because the date breaks it down one way, and other Bibles break it down another. But for today, we're going to just show the Shulamite woman, King Solomon, and her espoused shepherd. We're going to call him a boy because that just flows. But anyway, so here we go. So we know the story, right? So King Solomon, he and his entourage, they proceed up into the north country of the land of Israel. And he sees this woman, and she's very beautiful. And so he desires to have her in his ladies' court. And we know that if we've read anything about Solomon, that Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. Now, how many he had at this point, we don't really know, but we know that he had a lot. And we're going to talk about it. Well, we'll show you that in a minute. But anyway, so he wants her, he desires her, and this is kind of one of those things where, he's the king, and kings back then had essentially absolute power, and so whatever the king wants, king gets. So anyway, so she ends up leaving the place where she lives, her community, and she goes with the entourage. And so anyway, so as they're traveling back to Jerusalem, her espoused shepherd boy, who really has deep-seated feelings for this young lady, he follows King Solomon and the entourage all the way back to Jerusalem from where they live. And so what happens is she goes into this place where the ladies who have not been formally tied to the king, they're kind of put in a separate place, and they go through the days of purification. And sometimes that's a matter of weeks, and sometimes it can be several months. But most believe that it even took as long as a year to go through this time of purification. And so anyway, so this is where the Shulamite woman ends up, in the presence and the company of other women that are going through this same process, waiting to be, married or tied to King Solomon. So in the meantime, the shepherd boy, he gets essentially an appointment to go before Solomon, and he contends with him or pleads his case on her behalf. But I want to read some things. We're going to be in Song of Solomon, chapter 2, but I'm just curious, how many of us would have just rolled over and said, okay, well, the king who has absolute power, he has the power of life and death in his hands and in his mouth, that I'm going to follow him, and I'm going to get an appointment, and I'm going to go before him, and I'm going to plead my case because I love my woman this much. And so let's just see how devoted they really were to each other. So here we are, chapter 2, verse 8, and I'm going to read fast because we've got a lot to do, because I want to show you a clear picture of how they feel. Now this is her, this is the Shulamite woman, this verse 8, and you can read all 8 chapters or 9, whatever it is, but anyway, it says, the voice of my beloved, with an exclamation point. It says, behold, he cometh leaping upon the mountains, skipping upon the hills. My beloved is like a roe or a young hart. Behold, he standeth behind our wall. He looketh forth at the windows, showing himself through the lattice. My beloved spake, and said unto me, rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of birds is come, and the voice of the turtle is heard on our land. The fig tree putteth forth her green figs, and the vines with the tender grape give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. And then she says, O my dove, thou art in the clefts of the rock, in the secret places of the stairs. Let me see thy countenance, let me hear thy voice, for sweet is thy voice, and thy countenance is comely. And it goes on and goes on. But anyway, so then in verse 16, she says this. She says, my beloved is mine, and I am his. He feedeth among the lilies. So her devotion. Now, and then this is his response. So, like I said, the shepherd boy gets his appointment with the king, and then this is his plea. This is his defense. This is how he says, look, I recognize you as the king, but. So, chapter 4, verse 1 through 5, he says, behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes within thy locks. Thy hair is as a flock of goats that appear from Mount Gilead. And I believe I'm in the context here. Thy teeth are like a flock of sheep that are even shorn, which come up from the washing, whereof every one bare twins, and none is bearing among them. Thy lips are like a thread of scarlet, and thy speech is comely. Thy temples are like a piece of a pomegranate within thy locks. Thy neck is like the tower of David, builded for an armory, whereon there hang 1,000 bucklers, all shields of mighty men. The 2 breasts are like 2 young roes that are twins, which feed among the lilies. Now, I know that none of us are really, well, some of you might be, I guess poetic or whatever the case may be, but it talks about thy teeth are like a flock of sheep that are even shorn, and it says, whereof every one bear twin, and none is barren among them. And there's one translation that I wrote said basically, you are beautiful, you are comely, and you have all your teeth are none missing. So depending on what version you're reading, you can kind of see the humor in that. I mean, it's almost like, you see these old westerns, and somebody's going to go buy a horse or a mule or whatever the case is, and the first thing they do is they go and they check your teeth to see how old the animal is. So it's kind of humorous in some ways, but at the same time, he was being complimentary in the best way that he knew how to be. And not that a lot of ladies today would take to that, but, I'm glad that my wife has all her teeth, and that, I don't have to roll over in the middle of the night, and, her lips are all sucked in because she don't have real ones. But anyway, just a little humor there. But my point is this. The devotion. Now let's go on with verse 7. It said, thou art all fair, my love, there is no spot in thee. Come with me from Lebanon, my spouse, with me from Lebanon. Look from the top of Amana, from the top of Shinir and Hermon, and these were all located in the north country. from the lions' dens, from the mountains of the lepers, thou hast, now get this, thou hast ravished my heart, my sister, my spouse. Now, this is not his literal sister. So what he's saying is they're from the same tribe, from the same community. Therefore, they have a close connection, not his literal biological sister. Okay, so don't. This is not incestuous in any way. You just have to understand it in the right interpretation. It says, "Thou hast ravished my heart, my sister, my spouse. Thou hast ravished my heart with one of thine eyes, with one chain of thy neck. How fair is thy love, my sister, my spouse. How much better is thy love than wine, and the smell of thine ointments than all spices. Thy lips, O my spouse, drop as the honeycomb. Honey and milk are under thy tongue, and the smell of thy garments is like the smell of Lebanon." And it goes on and it goes on. So then, remember I said that she was in the court of these other women. So let's talk about what happens here. So in chapter 5, verse 9, this woman, she's been kind of, I don't want to say bragging, but she's really been expressing her devotion and her love to these women about her shepherd boy husband, or spouse rather, and how much she desires to go and to be back with him, that she really don't want to be in King Solomon's court, but she kind of doesn't have a choice. And so they're hearing all this thing, and this is what they say to her. This is what the other women say to the Shulamite woman. Chapter 5, verse 9. What is thy beloved more than another beloved, O thou fairest among women? What is thy beloved more than another beloved, that thou dost so charge us? Question. And then this is the Shulamite woman's response to them. She says, my beloved is white and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000. His head is as the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven. His eyes are the eyes of doves by the rivers of waters, washed with milk and fitly set. His cheeks are as a bed of spices, as sweet flowers. His lips like lilies, dropping sweet smelling myrrh. His hands are as gold rings set with the beryl. His belly is as bright ivory overlaid with sapphires. His legs are as pillars of marble set upon sockets of fine gold. His countenance is as Lebanon, excellent as the cedars. His mouth is most sweet. Yea, he is altogether lovely. This is my beloved, and this is my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. Now you get that? They were lovers and they were friends. This is the man that I love with all my heart. He's also my BFF, and that's the way it should be. Your spouse, your fiance, your girlfriend should be your bestest friend. So, well, Jesus is my best friend. Well, yeah, and he should be, but we're talking about earthly relationships here because it's Valentine's Day, or almost Valentine's Day in 2 days. So we're talking about these relationships. And then in chapter 8, verses 6 and 7, I kind of want to end it with this right here. It says, chapter 8, again, verse 6 and 7, it says, set me as a seal upon thine heart, as a seal upon thine arm, for love is strong as death, jealousy is cruel as the grave, the coals thereof are coals of fire, which hath a most vehement flame. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods drown it. If a man would give all the substance of his house for love, it would utterly be contemned. So, this is their idea of love and how devoted they were to each other, how committed they were. And if only all the relationships were this strong, what a world we would have, right? So I call this today a tribute to love. And so this Valentine's Day, this should be how we feel every day. Not just on Valentine's Day, not just on Mother's Day, not just on her birthday, not just on your anniversary, not just on the day that you remember as the day that we started dating, but every day, all day, in every way. And I know there's going to be times we're going to agree and we're going to disagree, and that's okay, but the love and the devotion don't change. And if it does, well, maybe you don't care as much as what you thought you did. But if only... And I said, if only in all our relationships we were this strong. But what about our relationship to the Lord? If our relationship to the Lord was as strong is what the Shulamite woman's relationship was to her espoused shepherd boy and his devotion back to her, then how much better a world we would experience. And this is what Matthew 22:37 and 38 says. It said, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." So, I just want to throw this out there. Do we really know how to love in the truest form until we learn, number one, to love ourselves, and then we learn how to love the Lord the way we should? And there's a lot that's spoken of in the Bible about relationships, but until we really love ourselves, until we really love the Lord in the right sense, not just in a physical sense, but in a spiritual sense, till we get all of that right, till we really love in the fullness that we should love, and I'm just speaking from me now. This is just my experience. And so I'm going to give you a little piece here of me. Until I really got saved, until I really started seeking the Lord and letting the Holy Spirit work in me and change me, you know, let me just say this. I was 95% completely devoted into my relationship with my current spouse, and she knows this. This is not a surprise to her. But when I got saved and really started loving the Lord and let the Lord love me back, then and only then could I really truly appreciate who she was and what she meant to me. And so now we're virtually inseparable, other than she goes to work and I stay home. But we just desire to be in each other's company, and we don't typically go off and do things here and there and yonder. We just love being together, and that's the way we prefer it. Not because we have to be, but that's just because that's the way we want it to be. And so anyway, so love the Lord thy God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. Get that right, and all this other stuff, it'll fall right into place. So don't forget Valentine's Day, and don't forget the Lord. So as you're getting ready this morning, hopefully you're on your way, or soon will be, on your way to Sunday school, and then your worship service hour. And again, if you don't have anywhere to be, we certainly invite you to come to the Rock Worship Center, Stillmore, Georgia, right there on Highway 57. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you. And that's all we have for you this week. So, Lord willing, we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I know that's corny. But anyway, take care. Have a safe day. Be careful out there on these roads. They're terrible. And we love you guys. And don't forget to share this with somebody. A tribute to love.